welcome to our parent meeting for today at noon. Thanks for joining us. We're going to be talking about ministry for students going grades 5, 6, 7, and 8, which means your kids should be currently in grade 4, 5, 6, or 7. Just as we get started today, my name is Mike Sheely. We haven't met before. I'm the middle school pastor at Mount Pleasant Christian Church. We're going to go through some things that are happening this fall, this summer, that maybe you know about because you have older kids. Maybe it's brand new to you because your oldest is a fifth grader coming into our ministry. And some things that'll be changing or we're experimenting with as the school year goes along. And so we'll go through those together. During this meeting today, it is one sided because it's a YouTube video, but at the same way, it's a live stream. We can take your questions. So if you have a YouTube account, you can leave comments directly here on the video on YouTube, and I'll pause throughout our talk today and answer those or respond to those. You also have this form, ahaslides.com, that you can use to respond to what's going on, and we'll work through that as well. So without further ado, let's dig into things. Well, the first things I want to tell you is that we want to be here to help and support you with resources. And so one of those is this book called The Phase Guide. There's one for every year of your child's life from birth all the way up through 12th grade. And it walks through conversations you should have at each year in their life, things to talk about from purity to technology, from responsibilities they can handle at each age level to books they may be reading in school or for fun, all kinds of things that help you have some intentional conversations and spread it out across the 12 months so it doesn't feel so intense. And so, because you are a part of this meeting today, we are going to provide you with a copy of one of these guides for each of your children grades. So like if you have a kid in fifth grade and seventh grade going into those grades, we'll be getting you a copy of each of those. If you have one child in eighth grade, we'll get you the eighth grade guide. You can find out more information at phaseguides.com on the books. We have samples in the Community Life Center lobby. But you'll be getting an email from me a little bit later this afternoon with instructions on how to pick up your books, how we're going to work that out. And so I'll be watching for that a little bit later. And speaking of that, all the links we talk about today are in the video description below. And so if you want to check on that after the meeting, you've got all those and have access to it so you don't have to scramble to write all those down. We're also giving every one of you who are participating in this a copy of the book called Pass It On. It's by my friend Jeremy Lee and a longtime youth ministry veteran, Jim Burns, that gives you a rite of passage event for every year of your child's life. So, Phase Guide helps you parent and have intentional conversations. Pass It On helps you celebrate their birthday in this year. But here's the cool thing: if their birthday's already passed this year, or you come across some rite of passage events that you would love to do, but now your kids are older, they don't know about this book. So you can bring it out and just make it something you're doing as a family next week or something you're doing this summer or on fall break. Let these be great ideas. Don't limit them to legalistically having to hit each of these at each age marker, but read up on them, find what you would like to do with your family, with your kids, and do that intentional time together. This can be a great way to pass on faith and values and have these memorable experiences through the tips that Jim and Jeremy give in this book. And we'll give you, like I said, an email later today telling you how you can pick up your copy of this book. One thing that we always have available 24/7 are parenting resources at mpcc5678.com. It's a special website we set up for middle school ministry resources and for parents like you. And so those are always available. And we have a link to that in the description. You can download helpful resources there at any time. If you want to stay up to date on what we have going on in our ministry, the best way to do that is our email list. We send out weekly emails, usually centered around what's going on in the weekend service, but also important updates related to events or just resources that are helpful for you as a parent. So check that out. If you haven't filled out yet and gotten on our email list, you can do that at mpcc5678.com/parents. There's also, like I said, a link in the video description for that. Now, I do want to give you a heads up. Part of what we have to manage here is a lot of different students. And in student ministry, kids change grades every year. So, in order to keep that all straight, we have a system that works pretty well for us, but it may shock some of you. So, we want to help you with that. In our database, in our records, in our email list, you have to put down what year your child graduates high school. And so we have to look ahead from the eighth graders, it'll be class of 2029, to the incoming fifth graders that are class of 2032. That may be really crazy to look at right now and process when it's 2024. But you can see how that begins to move things along. It helps you make the most of the time that you have available. And it's not like graduation year is the end of this parenting. You just move from being a coach to being a consultant. And so keep that in mind. When we send out information, we list it based on what graduation year is so that as they change from grade to grade, we can still keep the same students listed together and kind of keep it organized that way. So hopefully that makes sense and is not too terribly terrifying for you today. It's a lot of T's. Okay. Whew. Calendar. You're a parent. You have to keep track of amazing amounts of data when it comes to calendars. So we've done one to help you out. We used to do a printed calendar. Things change. Schools make decisions that change after we print them. Senior pastors make decisions that change after we print them. So we have decided to go digital. And so at npcc567.com/events, you can pull up in the links in the video description a calendar that you can subscribe to, and it will automatically populate on your phone, tablet, computer, wherever your digital calendar is, the information you need to know. Is it a regular weekend? Are they worshiping with their families this weekend? Is registration opening for an event? Is the event happening? All that stuff you can find on this digital calendar, or you can just pull it up on your web browser anytime you want. I mentioned before the Community Life Center lobby. We had this next gen family resource wall. The display always has some words of encouragement or challenge for parents and families. On the wall, in those bookshelves, are copies of the phase guides from birth all the way to 12th grade. So you can check those out before you order one, and you can check it out for other ages beyond just the ones that we're providing for you today. On the wire rim baskets on the wall, we also have handouts that change on a rotating basis with information from like an emotional feelings wheel to help give your kids more words to describe what they're feeling, to sometimes tips when it comes to devotions or chores at home, responsibilities, all kinds of great steps. So, whether you are finishing up a workout, grabbing a coffee, or waiting for practice to end, check out this family resource wall on a regular basis to see where we literally put things at your fingertips to help you with parenting. For social media, this is something that we don't post a ton, but what we do post is for you as a parent because most of our students are under the age of 13. And so if you just search up NPCC 5678, there's some links in the video description below. Most of the time, we're sharing links to our newsletter or things that are going on, highlights from camp, and that kind of thing. But you can find us out there on social and have a connection with us. Again, we do have questions and comments and thoughts accepted and available. If you have something you want to share or a question you have about some of those resources, please let me know. Right. Now, we also have student resources. And so I wanted to point those out to you as well. Same website. We have a link in the description. We have things that are available to students, but some things we have are not necessarily digital downloads. And so when we look at student ministry, one of the biggest questions I get is which Bible should my student have? And so I have three answers to that. If you have a boy or girl ages 10 to 12 or 9 to 12, these are the top two Bibles for them. The boys' Life Application Study Bible and the girls' Life Application Study Bible. Both of them I recommend getting the hardback. They're not going to use them long enough to need a leather or fake leather cover unless you just want to do that kind of thing. This really is going to last them about 2 or 3 years, but a hard cover will be much more durable for that time than just a soft cover. We want them to bring it every week and use it in church. We hope they're using it at home throughout the week. They can get a good 2 to 3 years use out of that. I know you can't just stop into a Christian bookstore and find these anymore, and so we try to keep these in stock. We have just sold out of the girls' Life Application Study Bible. We have a few of the boys left. These go for about $20 is what we buy them in case slots. So if you want one, let me know, or just send $20 with your kid. If you want the girls one, we need to order more, and so I will let you know. I'll send a parent email out when more of those come in. Now, if you have an older child, anywhere from 13 to 18, grades 7 through 12. This Teen Life Application Study Bible, wow, Teen Life Application Study Bible is the best resource for them. It includes notes written by teens for teens. It's what we recommend. We actually have highlighters and things in our services so that whichever these Bibles the students have, they can highlight them, annotate them, make notes in there. We really want them to engage with it in our weekend services so that they are more likely to engage in it when they're at home as well. And so we'll go through that. That's just a great resource for them to have available. And because we want to give some stuff for students and not just you as parents, we also have these Manga Messiah and Manga Metamorphosis books that you get a copy of each of these for each child going into grades 5 through 8 this fall because you took the time to be a part of this parent meeting. And so this is Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John in Manga Messiah, put in graphic novel format, and the book of Acts for Manga Metamorphosis, put in graphic format. It makes it great for your kid to read. If some kids have trouble reading or have a lower reading level, the comics will help them to figure out some of the words and put things together. And when they're reading a story, if they really like what they're reading, the bottom of the pages have a little footnote that tells them where the rest of the story can be found if they turn it into a regular Bible and read it. So it's a great way to get students in the habit of reading, a great tool to use in the summer or on road trips this summer, or to take to camp or mix with them. Okay. Speaking of reading Bibles, like we said, we encourage a physical Bible for preteens and middle schoolers. It just makes more sense. It's a really helpful resource. It's not distracting. It's just a good tool. And but we also want to help them with reading plans, and we know you can find those in the Bible app. And so what we have done is put together our own reading plans for Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, and the Book of Acts, where they can go through and read these. And if they use Manga Messiah or Metamorphosis, those page numbers are listed. The QR codes you see help take them to Bible Project videos so they can learn more about the books they're reading and help them make more sense. This is even a great tool to use as a family. I mean, as a family, you could sit down and go through the Book of John together using the reading plan, and you scan the QR code and watch the video together. You take turns reading, or you even just chat with each day. Hey, what are you reading? You could use the simple questions of what challenged you, what surprised you, and what you have questions about. A challenge is like, "Ooh, I need to do something based on what I read." A surprise is I did not expect it. And then the question is just something didn't make sense, and they have a question about it. It can be a great conversation between you and your child. It can also be something that you follow up and say, "Hey, we want some good resources. If you want more to dig into this, I can give you other resources to help you with each of these books." Um, we're also This is a great resource that is a link in the video description. You can download these and print them out at home. We have paper copies available at the Student Ministry Center. Students can pick up before or after any of our weekend services. We're also making a change that we hope to have ready in June, but definitely will be ready by August when school starts. We're making a bookmark size version of our reading plan. So, this nice cardstock bookmark will be able to fit in their Bible. They can mark off these little squares. It helps them track what they're doing. And if they're sharing this with a friend, it has the QR codes in the back to find out more information about those Bibles if they don't already have one and want to find out more before they pick one up from us. So that's coming. You're one of the first to see that. Okay. Any questions or thoughts? I'm not seeing anything pop up right now. So let me check one thing here for you guys. What I put in the chat, I have the code up from this morning's meeting on the screen, that 9239U. That is not the correct one. That was the one we used this morning. And so if you have a question, you should be using this 54D6G. That's in the chat. You can check it out there and use that link. If you have a question you want to submit and you don't have a YouTube account, that's the best way for you to do that. Okay. All right. The weekend service. We get a lot of questions about this. So let me answer as much as I can and explain as much as I can for you. Our service for students in grades 5, 6, 7, and 8 meets on Sundays from 9 to 10:15 and doors open at 8:30. So if you have a child who is going to be going into grades 5 through 8 in the fall, our Student Ministry Center opens the doors at 8:30 for kids to check in, to play games, to hang out with their friends, just to enjoy some downtime before service starts, or to be as active as like playing Gaga Ball or Papa Shot, and having that kind of fun before we get rolling. So please drop them off, let them have some fun. The biggest complaint we have from kids is the parents don't drop them off early enough to really enjoy all that we have, and then we get into service at 9 o'clock. Services end at 10:15. That is our kind of rule of thumb. If the main church service ends earlier, we're still going to go probably up until 10:15 because of all that we pack into that hour and 15 minutes. Just know that you'll wait outside for a few minutes, but at 10:15 we should be releasing and letting them go. On the flip side, it's more likely that the main church service is going to go long and we're going to be done first. So we watch the live stream, and if we see that at 10:15 the main service isn't done, we let the kids have some extra game time, we hang out, whatever, until we see service is done, and then we dismiss them. And so just to let you know that you don't have to ever rush over here right after service. Might not want to stop and grab an extra latte or hang out in the commons, but if you got to pick up kids from Bibleopolis, don't feel like you have to leave service early. Stay to the end of service. We won't be dismissing kids until service is over, so you've got time for that. Oh, let me back up actually. Some people ask us about, well, what about Saturday nights? What about other service times like 10:45 on Sunday morning? I've been here 16 years as a middle school pastor, been doing youth ministry for 25 years, and we're constantly changing. We're the one thing that isn't staying the same all the time. And so we evaluate from year to year. There was a time where we had our seventh and eighth graders meet on Saturday night after the Saturday night service, and fifth and sixth grade met on Sunday morning during service. There was also a time where the church had one Saturday service and three Sunday, and we met in all four of those services. Across the board, what we have found is that there's generally, right now at least, one service that most of our families come to. And so students want to be where all their friends are at. That's just normal. That's how we are. And so they want to be in that service. If they come to any other time slot, there's going to be about 10 people who show up, and some of those will change from week to week because of the inconsistencies of just how life is. So for us, keeping that 9 o'clock slot there gives us 60 to 80 kids gathering together for worship. It's a great group, a lot of energy. Things go really well with that. We're constantly evaluating, so I'm not opposed to doing a service at another time. I just need to see if there's enough students who would come to that to make it worth our while. And so right now we don't have that, but we do have small groups that meet. I'll talk about that in a little bit. This is our one service time. That's how things roll. We also have worship together weekends. And on behalf of Pastor Chris and behalf of our children's ministry, I need to give you a little public service announcement with these. Worship together weekends are supposed to be worshiping together as a family weekend. So when we cancel our service, students are supposed to go sit with you and participate with you in the main church service. We did this because early on, like I said, our services met at different times. And so when I asked Pastor Chris about having students meet during this service, he really was still passionate about families worshiping together. And so our compromise was about 8 times a year, we would close down our middle school service and have students go into the worship center and worship with their families. And it's so valuable. If you don't understand this, you need to know that a kid watching their mom and dad in the worship service, singing, reading scripture, paying attention to the sermon, praying, you're teaching through modeling in that environment. And they also need to see that church isn't just a bunch of middle schoolers. They need to see parents, grandparents, strangers, people they haven't met before, young adults, great grandparents, like all these people in the room together are a part of the church. So, worship together is a big, important weekend. It's also not a time for them to go revisit Bibleopolis. A student who is helping but hasn't been trained and is not an official volunteer is not actually helping at all in Bibleopolis. So, if it's a worship together weekend and you have a child who's fifth grade or over, they need to go to the worship service with you, not to Bibleopolis, and see the value of having that time together as a family. Okay, cool. All right. Now, walking across, whether or not you know this, every Sunday we have students who walk across when our service is done to join their families in the main campus. Here's how it works. You, as a parent, have a conversation with your child and tell them, hey, we want you to meet us at the main church after service. Walk over with the group that walks over. We don't allow anybody to go on their own. They have to go as a group. We have an officer in the building who's there for safety and security that walks with them across the parking lot, down the sidewalk to the corner. And either that officer escorts them across the street or hands them off to the officer who's there directing traffic to safely get all the kids over to the church building. This is where it's really important if you've had a conversation with your child because they need to know where to meet you. Are they going to go to the Commons? Do they even know what the Commons is? Are they going to Bibleopolis because they're meeting you there when you're picking up younger kids? Are they going to the worship center because you're talking to friends and you're going to be there for a while? Are you going to the coffee shop? Where are they going to go to meet you at? You need to know that. They need to know where to meet, have a plan, and then they can walk across. The other thing to keep in mind is that you don't have to do this. We have parents every week who pull up in their car and their kids walk out the doors and hop in the vehicle and head off, and no one had to walk across the street and meet anybody anywhere. That's totally fine too. Um, do keep in mind if you want your kid to walk across the street that sometimes we're hopping in cars in garages attached to houses, and we get out under an awning at the student ministry center, and we rarely have to experience the elements. If it's freezing cold in winter, if it's raining outside, make sure your child has a coat, the appropriate clothes to wear to get from our building, because it's a walk across the parking lot, down the sidewalk, and across the street. We want them to stay happy and healthy, and so you can help us with that. Bottom line, communicate with your kids and then make sure they have the right clothes based on what the weather's like. Cool? All right. Well, something new this year that I'm still wrestling with, but I wanted to share it with you because it happened in service, and what happens in service doesn't always make its way home, is teaching students to teach students. We've had a team of teachers, myself, Spencer, Izzy, Evan, we've had Christy in here. Different people have taught the students, but they've almost always been adults. And so now what we want to do is I asked on a random Sunday, hey, how many of you would be interested in learning how to do what we do up here, like teach the Bible to people? And a surprisingly large number of hands went up. Like I didn't think that many would want to do that because so many are nervous about being in front of people. So now what I'm trying to figure out is what would it look like to teach those who want to learn how to teach to be able to teach. And so it could be a program that we do for 6 weeks on Sundays at 10:45. It could be something we do on Saturdays for the month of August and September. I don't know what it's going to look like, but just know, talk to your child if they're interested in this. It's going to be targeted at middle schoolers and some high schoolers if they're interested. We're going to work through how to teach the Bible, how to do a simple lesson. And it will include teaching in the classroom, practicing pieces of it, doing a sample teaching in that classroom, and with the goal of them actually being a part of the spring teaching rotation in the middle school ministry in the student ministry center, and being able to go and teach at a Bible study at their school or wherever they're at where they have peers, they'll have those skills to be able to do that. So it's coming. I don't know for sure what it looks like yet, but if your child's interested, kind of flag that and note that. There'll be more information coming your way in late July, early August for this. And then one more thing. One of the big changes, experiments that we're looking at for this school year will be happening in our weekend service, but I'm saving that for the end of this meeting. So stick around and we'll get to that in a little bit. Again, submit those questions and comments if you have anything you want to know about. But we're going to hop over and talk about small groups, which is one of the healthiest and most important parts of our ministry. And so we are going to be launching small groups when school starts, which should be midway through August. And so I just wanted to let you know these are, man, they're the lifeblood of our ministry. They are the same grade. So it's sixth, seventh, or eighth grade. We experimented at one time with fifth graders. That didn't go very awesomely. And so we are just doing sixth, seventh, and eighth grade small groups. Um, Sixth, seventh, eighth grade are used to middle school life. They've got things they're moving around. It's a little bit different. So it's a good fit for them. But these groups are all the same grade. And you might say, well, but my kid has friends in different grades. We hope your kid has friends in different grades and different schools, all kinds of differences. But for the small group to work best, we're working through sixth graders navigating their first year in a middle school. Maybe the first time they have a locker, the first time they have some of these different options with different teachers. For seventh grade, we're navigating being in the sweet spot of having all these opportunities in middle school and not worrying about high school yet, but being removed now from elementary school. And then eighth graders are enjoying middle school, but they spend half their year starting to think about and get ready for high school. So each group can walk with them through that specific phase of life they're going through. And that only works when they're all the same grade. They're also the same sex. All guys or all girls in the group helps conversations not be awkward and be able to talk about things in real ways with their same sex leaders. It makes it where it's a very honest and safe environment to be in. These small groups last for 90 minutes. They are a mixture of games, snacks, a small group conversation, prayer time. Sometimes they go and do a fun activity together. Sometimes they go and serve together. It's 90 minutes of small group community together that meets in homes. Just like the early church had home churches, we have home small groups. And so All of our middle school ministry small groups meet that way. We currently have some groups where the leader's home is the host home. We have other people that either grandparents, empty nesters, or just wanted to host a group in their home, but not necessarily lead. And so that's where the group meets, and leader just meets the rest of the students there and don't have to have it at their house. We have a new group ready to go with a host home and two leaders for our incoming sixth grade boys. We don't yet have a host home or leaders for incoming sixth grade girls. So if you know someone who might be interested in that, if you have a name you can recommend to me, that would be awesome. I'd love to have them in place by the beginning of June so that we can train them and have them ready to go for the group to be able to launch in August. Finally, small group leaders are a really important part of our ministry. Most small group leaders serve for 3 years with their students. Some continue on into high school and serve another 4 years with them. We treat them like a pastor. They care for their students. They go to hospitals, they go to ball games, they go to concerts, and they go to award ceremonies. They know you and your family better than I do because they're working with about 8 to 12 students in a small group of two leaders. So that's 4 to 6 students for each leader to care for and to know about, versus me, where we have anywhere from 60 to 90 students who show up on a weekend service. I just don't know them all at that level. So we pour a lot into our small group leaders. We want them to really know these kids and make a difference in their life, and they do. And so please get to know your kid's small group leader, have that connection, that respect for them, care for them the way you would think of taking care of a pastor or respecting them. Same thing we would do for those small group leaders. Okay. Whew. Now you're on YouTube, so you're watching the video where it's hosted and what's going on. But this is an underutilized resource for us. We have videos on here that are just general YouTube videos that are made for parents like you. You can comment, you can like, you can share them. And then we have YouTube videos made for kids. And that doesn't mean it's childish. It just means that that video, there's no comments, there's no engagement that way. The content is made for people under the age of 13, which half of the students in our ministry fit that age group. And so the thing is, we want to grow this a lot. Like, it has a great potential to be a good resource, not to make us famous, but to help provide answers to questions that students this age group have. So if you know someone who is, maybe it's you, maybe it's an adult, a young adult, maybe even a high schooler who really gets making videos for YouTube and wants to help us out, this is an area of ministry that has potential to really grow and make a big impact. We just need the right people to lead it and serve in it. So that's a plug. One of the things that we are working on behind the scenes is we have these great Bibles we like, but we don't have a great way to explain all the different features that are in them and how they work. And so in my office right now, I have enough post it notes put together to make 50 short videos for each of these Bibles that explains what these features are and what they do. Some of them may be a few different things that all fit into one video. So maybe it's 10 videos per Bible. They have 5 different things in the video. We want to teach students how to use these Bibles, and I'd love it if we can get it all done before August. That's my goal. I'd also love it if the videos come out and students go, "Oh, I could do better than this." And then we give them the opportunity to make a new video and we replace mine in the playlist with theirs so that we have students teaching their peers how to use these Bibles. It's an exciting thing. I'd love to get there. We're just not there yet. And so, if you have an interest in that, let me know and we can work together and get that thing happening. All right. What's planned for the summer? So here's something that probably why you tuned in. You want to know some new information. You want to know what's going on, and so we'll dive in and let you know a little bit about that. For our summer plans, June 2nd is our first weekend where new fourth graders come and join us as fifth graders, and where our eighth graders have moved out and go Sunday night to the high school engaged service. So this is a big welcome weekend for us. Again, that service 9 o'clock on that Sunday morning. We're going to have some icebreakers, some games together. We're going to help students get to know each other, whether they're an eighth grader who's been coming here for a long time, or a fourth grader coming as a fifth grader for the very first time. And so we've got that going on June 2nd. The very next day, our incoming sixth and eighth graders leave for the mixed conference. And so that is their Monday through Friday. trip. The event goes Monday through Thursday. We come home on Friday. It's a great conference. It's a lot of fun. We're taking the most people ever, 150 students and leaders going to this mixed conference. It's going to be great. June 9th is Welcome Back. And so we're going to talk about the importance of making it a habit and a priority to be at church, not just because we need the church, because the church needs us. And we'll talk about that weekend, help them refresh and learn a few more names, and just really feel at home as a part of our middle school service. June 9th through 14th is our summer camp at Camp Allendale for students going into grades 3, 4, and 5. And so that is always a good week. We've got record numbers going there too. It's a really good experience for all of our kids. They get to go and be challenged and get to know some kids from the Creek and Mount Gilead, the different churches that we're partnering with there. It's a really, really good experience. So that's coming up in that Sunday through Friday of June. And then we come back, we're going to do something special on 2 Sundays to call back those summer camp experiences. June 16th, we're doing something we're calling a taste of mix. And so when students come in, we're going to celebrate what mix was like for those sixth, seventh, and eighth graders. And part of what's big at mix is that we are there with 150 of our group, but there's 500 to 600 total people there from a dozen different churches. And so they divide the whole group up into 4 color teams. And all week long, you have games and seating and everything you do that's divided by color. And so when students walk in on June 16th, they're going to be assigned a color: red, yellow, blue, or green. And we'll play games and we'll sit and we'll do things based on that color and let them see some of the fun that is a big part of Mix. We'll also be singing worship songs with Zach and the worship team that we sang at the Mix conference. And we will have a little time of testimonies for students who went to Mix to share some of their highlights, funny stories, memories, and then we'll close out in a time of prayer. June 23rd, we'll do the same thing, but for Camp Allendale, because those fifth graders, we want to give them a chance to share some of their highlights and favorite moments from camp. Just both of these weeks, I'll also be sharing some of the teaching that was going on. Worship that day on June 23rd will be some of the songs that we sang at camp as a part of that worship experience. And for students who are older, who are in sixth, seventh, or eighth grade, it'll allow them to think back into their days at camp. And one of the most popular things at camp is canteen. It's snack time. So every kid who comes in on June 23rd gets a punch card with 2 punches in it, and they'll get to go to our kitchen area during service and get 2 snack items that are just like what they would get if they were at the canteen at Camp Allendale. It's going to be a fun Sunday. We can't wait to get to celebrate at those 2 weekends. Then June 30th is a crazy big weekend for us at Mount Pleasant. It's Chris Philbeck's celebration. It's his last weekend preaching as senior pastor of Mount Pleasant Christian Church. 22 years plus of ministry here. And so it's going to be a great big weekend. If I can give you an insider tip, I would say if things are planned for Saturday night on the 29th, go that night, worship that night, and then come lend a hand on Sunday morning. We're having worship together, but there's going to be a lot of kids here, a lot of people here, a lot of extra needs beyond normal. We could really use some help from some good people if you would work your schedule that way to be a part of the celebration by going Saturday night and then serving Sunday morning. That would be awesome. I don't have any more details yet. They're all being worked on, and Chris might be watching, so I can't say anything here. But if you can help us out, that would be awesome that weekend. The following weekend is a Sunday after July 4th, so we're calling it Campfire Sunday. We're going to sing some of the crazy, fun, repeat after me, loud songs we do at campfires, and then we're going to have a time of acoustic worship like we do. It's just a sweet part of campfire time at camp, and rumor has it, we might be having s'mores as a snack that Sunday, so that'll be fun. Sometime in July, we're going to go back to Rascals and have our day there where it's 4 hours of go-kart rides and miniature golf and bumper boats and arcade and pizza and all kinds of fun. It's a great day for small group leaders to connect with their kids over the summer. And if you're a parent who is available, we'd love to have you come along because some of those kids are too short to ride some of the go-karts, so they need someone taller to ride with them. It's also fun to get to race the kids and have a little competitive fun with them that day. Or you can just guard the pizza and drinks and be available in the picnic shelter. Whatever you want to do. We plan to have details about that available by June 2nd when everybody moves into the new ministry, and we'll start registration and let you know all about that. July 14th, we haven't decided for sure what that Sunday is going to be like. It could be an early start on what we're going to do on the 21st. It could be something that stands alone. We're still working on it, and so that one is not fully checked off the box, but It's a couple months away, and so we'll get there and have it ready to go for you. July 21st is going to be Christmas in July. It's going to be a lot of fun. Christmas songs, games. It'll be a blast here in the Student Ministry Center. And so that'll be a fun way to kind of finish up our summer with the students here. And then 28th is another worship together weekend. It's a big weekend. It's our back to school weekend where we celebrate teachers and students and pray for each other and just have a really good weekend as everyone's heading back into school. And I think this year, pretty much every student in our ministry will be in school by the end of July. And so this will be right at that same time for them. All right. Whew. How you doing? Good so far? We're getting close to the end here. We're winding things down. We got some more details for you. One question I actually got asked, and I had to stop and think about it, was a parent said, "Hey, how can we support you? How can we be more supportive of the middle school ministry?" And I thought about it, and the answer, obviously, and it shouldn't be just a cliche, is to be praying for us and praying for our ministry. That's one of those things that we can't underestimate what God does when His people come to Him and ask Him for help and for support. But beyond that, I would ask you to pray for specific people. We're looking, like I said, for 2 leaders for those girls, 6th grade girls small group and a host home for them. That's definitely a matter of prayer. If you know some people or be praying and asking God to help you out with that. We also have something new we want to try this year. It's going to require at least 12 new volunteers for our ministry. And so if you'd be praying, 12 can be kind of intimidating, but if you can pray for 3 names, 3 people you could talk to who might be a good fit in helping out in our ministry. I'll tell you more about what that is a little bit later in this meeting. But if you could pray for 3, and then either talk to them and pass them on to me or give me their names and I'll follow up with them. I would love to have 12 new people on our team by the end of June so that we can train them in July and be ready to launch them into this ministry in our weekends in August. So that's how you can support us. The other thing is, I was asked about like a PTO, a parent teacher organization. I don't want to create something where you just sit in a lot of meetings and it's a lot of busy work. I would love to have a group of people who pray for our leaders, who pray for our ministry, who provide wisdom and guidance. And I'll tell you, I substitute in a local middle school. And when I walk the hallways and I'm in the classroom, I see middle schoolers, a lot of whom go nowhere to church. And so I get to see what their day is like, the highs and the lows, and be in middle school world. And that helps affect how we do our ministry here, what we teach, what we think about with middle schoolers. I don't have the same kind of thing for parents. And so my youngest is 17 and a junior in high school, going to be a senior. And so I don't have that in my home anymore to think about the role of a middle school parent. I think about it, but I need a reality check from some local parents. So if you're interested in being a part of this, like advisory group, prayer group, group to help me connect with what real needs are and maybe some helpful resources. Think about it and let me know. I'd love to have a team like this that is a part of our ministry behind the scenes, but very much on the front lines. All right. This is the end. This is the last thing. And so this is what I mentioned before. Over the summer, we're gonna have a service where the kids will sit in chairs, not at tables. We're gonna do a lot of active games and a lot of fun. You saw that from the list. But I've been wrestling with how can we more effectively have a service for students in grades 5, 6, 7, and 8, where preteens are getting taught things at their level and young adolescents are getting stuff at their level. How do we do that all in one service? How do we take more advantage of having this CLC next to us and having a space for big games and activities? And how do we fit all of this in one service? Well, ideally, I would just simply say, "Hey, drop your kids off at 8:30 on Sunday, pick them up at 12:30. We're going to have a 4-hour window where we are teaching and playing games and worshiping and doing all kinds of stuff." That would be awesome. But I don't see a lot of families signing up for that kind of a schedule. We have a lot of people coming late, people that would come early and then want to pick them up early. So, here's the idea that we are working on, the experiment that we're working on for the fall. You need to know with me, I'm a constant evaluator and brainstormer. Even after 16 years, there's no autopilot in me for our ministry. I'm constantly looking at, is this fruitful? Is this healthy? Is this effective ministry? And if it's not, what kind of pruning and changing we need to do to get it where it needs to go? So here's the thought right now. Well, helps if I do it correctly. Okay. In August, when school has started, everyone will still come into the Student Ministry Center like they've been doing over the summer. They'll check in using the last four digits of the main home phone number. They'll hang out and play games, all fifth or eighth grade together. No big deal. That will all look the same. 8:30 to 9 o'clock. At 8:57, we play a 3-minute countdown, and usually students come downstairs or come from under the balcony, grab their Bibles, their note sheet, their communion, and they have a seat at one of the tables. This is where it will look different. So imagine that you have a student who is in fifth or sixth grade. In August, on the first week of August, they would do what they've been doing. They'd stay in the SMC. They will be greeted during a welcome time. They'll have some kind of group game or activity in the SMC. They'll sing worship songs with our live band, but worship songs that are specifically tailored to fifth and sixth graders. Maybe songs they sing at camp, maybe songs they sang at Superstart last year. Those kind of songs, maybe even more emotions than usual, but aimed for their age group. There'll be times of prayer and communion and offering like we have now. And there'll be a teaching time from stage where they're taught whatever our main point is. And I could say for August, we're working on this habits series. And then they'll have a mini time of conversations at their tables to process what they were taught. Maybe 10, 15 minutes, not very long, time to answer a few questions and then to pray together. That's for fifth and sixth grade. That same weekend, seventh and eighth graders will be part of Group B. And so when that countdown goes on, instead of coming to the SMC, they're going to walk through the doors into the Community Life Center gym, and they'll have a spot there. They'll have a seat, probably on the bleachers against the wall. They'll be welcomed by someone, and then they'll explain whatever the game or big activity is they're going to do. It might be classic gym games like kickball or dodgeball, basketball or volleyball. It may be something a little bit more creative and fun in the room, like a Nerf war that we've already set up for, or an inflatable obstacle course, or some kind of activity like that in the room. When that time is done, their study will come not from a large group teacher, but in small groups. So this doesn't replace the small groups that we have that meet in homes, because this is an abbreviated time of small group, but this gives them a taste of it on a Sunday morning where they'll process some stuff together. And maybe it sets them up for what they're going to be learning the next week. Maybe it's just a standalone lesson they work through. The alternative to the Convos group is to have hands-on learning lab. Think of it like if we're going to talk about teamwork, maybe we have them form a human knot and untie themselves and talk about how important communication is and what does that mean in the body of Christ and how can we be praying for each other and with each other. Maybe it's a hands-on learning lab where they build something that we then give as a part of a service project to help somebody out in the community. Hands-on learning that involves a visual learning style, auditory learning style, kinesthetic learning style, all as a part of that time in the CLC. And then at the end of our service, everybody comes back together because whether you know it or not, every Sunday, our middle school students reset the room, put away tables, reorganize chairs, and get everything ready to go for the high school engaged service that comes in on Sunday night. And we'll still have everybody coming together to help with resetting the room, cleaning up, and then either walking across the street or waiting for a ride to be picked up. And then on week 2, it would flip. Then 7th and 8th grade would stay in the SMC, do a group game or activity in there, have worship songs that are more like they would experience at Mix, designed for those young adolescents, time of prayer, communion, and offering, large group teaching from stage, and then a mini conversation at their tables, while 5th and 6th grade go into the gym, have some big gym activities and games, have a convo small group time or a hands-on learning lab, and then come back together to clean up. So let me know, what questions do you have about this? I know that for kids who like routine, it's going to be something new to kind of get used to, that it's an every other week routine. I know that for some kids that are here every other week, they may not see the alternate form of the service. Those are kind of risks involved. Like I said, if I could do the best scenario, I would have a 4-hour slot where we could do all of these things and not feel rushed and do them every week with all the students. That's not the reality. And so our compromise idea that we want to experiment with is this flip-flop format. And this is where we need 12 new volunteers. I need at least 6 new volunteers for each age group to work with them and run these parts of our service. And the options are you can be with one age group and you go and do whichever they're doing that week. Or you can say, hey, I really want to do the CLC side, or I really want to do the SMC side. And so then you go and serve that way. Either of those is a possibility. If you are interested in this, let me know. If you have somebody who's interested, they can email me through my email address here at the church, and we'll process it. I'll send a parent email out with a form that you can link and fill out if you're interested in it. But this uh, format is an experiment we want to try for at least a semester. So at least August to December, evaluate it, see how it's going, and see if we can keep it going into the spring, or if we've learned something that's better, we make some improvements from there. This is what we're looking at. Not until August, and we have to have those 12 new leaders in place. If we don't have them in place, we can't do this format. It requires too many people. So the good thing is it equips more people for ministry. The challenge is that we need the help. And so we need you to be praying about that, whether that's you or somebody you recommend to have the team in place to do this. I think it'll be a powerful way to give them more on a weekend than we've been giving them, and to help teach them in new and creative ways that will be fun as well. I want to say thank you for joining us today. You had to take some time, even just to join virtually. You had to take time to be part of this video and to learn what's going on. There's a lot more things. We have starting point to learn about baptism. We have service projects to plug in with Love Your Neighbor and things in our community. There's all kinds of stuff going on here, but the bottom line is I wanted to give you some of the most important things and let you know that we'll be emailing you with information on how to get those phase guide and the rite of passage experience book, as well as the manga Messiah Metamorphosis books for your kids. We really want to resource you and help you, and we thank you for being a part of this meeting today. And now you get to answer questions people had who didn't go to the meeting. So my plan, it's always a good intention plan, is to sit down and make a playlist of some smaller videos that feature some of the things I just shared with you today for those who missed the in-person and the two online meetings. Hopefully that will all get done and put together. Not today, but that's definitely on the list to try to do. Thank you for being a part of this. Thank you for letting us partner with you in ministry. If you want to leave a comment or ask me a question, I'll run a video here at the end, and you can comment through the chat on here or through that AHA Slides link. Otherwise, I will see you soon. We've got fourth graders coming to visit our service this weekend, and then June 2nd, everybody moves up. Thanks so much. I'll